So we've got a tape measure. We've got the line tied to that tape measure. We're going to do a measurement of what a hook set looks like for a across the body, most powerful, and then to see if it's any different when I come kind of to my, what I'd call my offside. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and we're here in the garage today, and I've got my assistant, Parker Frederick. I'm going to help with something today. Something that a good friend of mine, Craig Hughes, has asked me to kind of keep track with throughout the tournaments last few years is my hook to catch ratio. And regardless of the size of the fish, you know, it's irrelevant. He just wants to know how many fish I actually hooked that I landed and put in the boat. And it was a neat experiment for me because I kind of had a number in my mind as to what that looked like, but really trying to keep track of it. One made me more aware of it, and I think actually subconsciously kind of helped me think, okay, I've got a bite, make sure I set the hook right. You know, so it helped me be a more efficient angler, but it was also truly neat to be able to see, you know, what bait styles tend to lend themselves to, you know, to better hookup and landing ratios. But also, again, like the video series that we did on different hook sets for different style baits, really paying attention to that and really being aware of it when you're actually out there fishing, and that translates into, you know, a hook being set better when you get a bite, and, you know, end up with more fish in the boat, and also having, you know, with the way that you actually fight the fish once the fish is hooked. So something that personally I have noticed, and going through a lot of that stuff, you know, as you would expect, single hook baits have a greater landing ratio. You know, we all talk about, you know, treble hook baits and how many hooks they have, but yet how, you know, fish tend to slap at those baits and they're moving baits, and you generally just don't hook the fish quite as well on treble hook baits as you do single hook baits. And, you know, so you're always going to have a little bit lower landing ratio on those treble hook baits. But even on single hook baits, something that I went back and you know, paid attention to myself once I was really keeping track of this is actually the way that I set the hook, primarily with a bait caster. With the spinning rod, it's pretty uniform, and rarely do I set the hook in different directions as far as my body actually goes. But with a bait caster, there'll be times when I'm out of position and I set the hook, you know, kind of on my offside. And I'm going to say that I'm like 80-something% when I'm doing that. Where with single hook baits, setting the hook across my body where I'm the most powerful, I'm actually above 90%. It's a pretty significant difference, truthfully, as to, you know, which direction I set the hook with a bait casting rod, even with single hook baits, your highest landing percentage bait. So with that in mind, kind of what today's experiment is, show them the tape measure. So we've got a tape measure. We've got the line tied to that tape measure, and I call it a tape measure. I guess it's technically a measuring tape. Tape measure, measuring tape, whichever way you want to refer to them things that you pull out and you measure something with. Tape measure or measuring tape. What does it say on there? Locking tape. Heavy duty 30 feet locking tape. Probably won't use all 30 feet of it, and we probably won't lock it, but that's what we're going to check with. So we're gonna do a measurement of what a hook set looks like for a across the body, most powerful, you know, where I'm highest landing percentage, and then to see if it's any different when I come kind of to my, what I'd call my offside, you know, rod in my left hand, setting the hook towards my left, not crossing my body. This is a 7.2 medium heavy rod. It's Johnny Moore signature series. It's what I do all of my pitching with anymore, you know, and this is braid to a fluorocarbon leader, exactly the way that I fish it. You can show them that little piece of, we've got just a little piece of leader on there because it was honestly what I had left from the last tournament. So I'm just going to start with the line tight. The drag's pretty tight, so there won't be any drag slip. Not really going to set the hook, you know, terribly hard, but going to have the same amount of line out and see just how much, you know, just how much travel we get from the rod tip in the same place, crossing my body, the way that I turn my body when I set the hook, all those things, to see if it's a line movement difference or if it's just a strength, and then we'll talk about some of that once we do that. So, okay, you ready? Yep. This is pretty cool. So again, I'm not gonna do this like I would, you know, this is not about speed. This is literally just about the amount of travel, the amount of line being moved. So with the rod tip, we're going to do it right there at eye level for tater, between me and tater. Yeah, kind of like right where I'm at when I'm fishing a single hook. And again, the good part with this, with braid, it is no stretch. It's going to be the same. You don't have to worry about it, and I'm not going to touch the reel handle. So when I would set the hook like this, I'm typically going to turn my body a little bit, and I'm going to turn at the hips, and then I'm going to, come across my body. So a hook set would look something, like that is where I'm going to go to. What are we at?
99 and a half.
99 and a half. Okay. Really close to 100 inches. So I've not touched the reel handle. Same amount of line out, so feet are in the same place. So now to go across my body, and then once we measure this one, then we're going to discuss something that is also really important with this. Okay, so a offside hook set would look something like that, is about as far as I can get.
60.
60. So almost a 40-inch difference. So I'm coming to right there, coming up to here, and I'll turn my body a little bit that way, and maybe I can get another 5 or 10 inches. But either way, that's a pretty big difference, 35, 40-inch difference from my crossbody to where I'm at right here. Not only is that a difference in just the amount of line being pulled with the rod tip, but when I'm here on this side, trying to actually turn the reel handle is extremely awkward because I'm up here, my wrist is right in my face, like I'm completely out of position trying to do that. When I'm over here, in my body language, I can turn that reel handle without any issue whatsoever. So not only am I pulling up more line with the rod tip, I'm able to work that reel handle extremely easily. Where when I'm over here trying to do this is way, way, way more awkward. So that makes that's almost as big of a difference in my opinion as how much line you're actually moving on that hook set. So yeah, that's just something to definitely keep in mind. And that there's times, and again, I catch fish that way. I catch most of them that way. And I think like at the last tournament at the Chowan River, I was fishing a toad or Texas rig or whatever, and I may have made a cast where I'm back through some trees, and if I set the hook to the right, I'm going to be pulling my line up against a cypress tree or up against a dock post or something like that. But I need to set the hook. So there's some of those times when, and that's what you got to do. Like you have to set the hook off of that, off of that kind of offside to do that. So there's still times when you have to do it, but I know the feeling of when I do that. Like it's in my mind mentally, I'm already kind of thinking, make sure that you do this, make sure that you keep your hand on the reel handle, and those kind of things. And there's some times where I need to be better about it personally. Of wait a couple seconds, even move the boat, and then set the hook, because most of the time with a soft bait, they're not going to spit it out that quick anyway, and I'll be better off just to get the boat in better position, get myself in better position, and then that 80-something% is going to be more like 95. So you want to see what your movement is? Okay. Okay. So let's check this for Parker here. Let's see what yours is, a crossbody. That right there? You're right at the same, about 99 and a half. Yep. Okay. Let's see what you are over there. About where you'd go. You pulled out to like 86 going that way, but you came. But here's the thing. So you pulled it further, but how would you work the reel handle right there? Would you do that very well, or would it be really awkward?
I have my hand right here, so it's gonna get caught, and then I'll probably, if I'm fishing, I'll probably have to bring it down so it could also bring the hook
Yeah.
out.
So it lets more slack right back in the line. So yeah, that's you may move it about as far, but then if you're completely out of position, the fish comes at you. Well, then it's got slack in the line. And
I remember because I had one. You'll see this video come up, but I had one. I set the hook on my left side, and it came darting at me and slack. So when I went to go pull up, it popped it out of its mouth.
yeah, that's what tends to happen sometimes. And that's, the initial hook set is only part of it. Keeping your line tight after that initial hook set is also what's going to end up truly more times than not actually getting the hook in the fish and getting that fish in the boat. So this has been something neat to learn. And I think that in the big, and trying to land every single bite. That's something that when you're more aware of it and you think of it before you actually get the bite, and then it's kind of on your mind once you get that bite, you're really aware of it at that point in time. You take that extra half a second to a second to process, plant your feet, turn your body, do all the things, and set the hook the correct way. It will end up working out in a lot more fish landed. So thank y'all for watching. Be sure you like, subscribe, and we will catch you on the next one.